So hi, welcome to Cherie's weight loss journey. I've been in the house all day. Didn't feel like doing much of anything. However, I did get tired of watching the same things that I've been watching on YouTube, which is somebody else quit their job. Somebody else is suffering financially. Somebody else is trying to tell people how they can give them the keys on how to survive this bad economy, right? As if we're all not suffering in this economy together. Okay? Another thing I didn't like was I woke up today and I went out to my garden and it was like overnight my rose bushes had the mumps. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I could see they were suffering. So I had to do a huge purging of clipping all these little, new growths and infected branches. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what this cross contamination is, but whatever it is killing my rose bushes before they even have a chance to even fully, give me my flowers. So I decided, well, since I'm being lazy, I might as well get out. I don't know, go to the lake or go to a park, take a walk, and at least I'll get, a walk in. I might not be doing my actual, exercise routine that I had got myself into for the last week. But, at least I'll be doing something. And something's better than nothing besides sitting up at the house being upset. Because, like I said, I was getting quite upset at the fact that, dang. I was getting quite upset at the fact that, let's see. I was tired of hearing all of the complaining, and it was helping me to also do some complaining of my own. Because I'm like, yeah, I got some things to complain about. I got some things to complain about for sure. So anyway, let's move on, and let's try to see if we can get over this feeling of betrayal that we've been feeling. Okay. So one of the last things that I had watched was this lady talk about how she is so afraid, meaning that she does not trust our government to even provide coffee that's not tainted with some type of disease, right? And like I said, even I woke up this morning and when I seen that my rose plants was taken over by what looked like the mumps, oh my gosh, the first thing my mind went back to is in history, where, you know, they had given, you know, the Indians infected blankets that they traded them, right? They traded the Indians. They didn't just give the Indians, oh, here's some blankets, you know, keep yourselves warm. No, they traded infected blankets in order to get something from the Indians, whether it was furs, whether it was food, whether it was, you know, safe passage, protection. You know, they traded them these infected blankets. And a lot of the Indians, you know, died as a result of these blankets. And of course, you know, after it's all been said and done and people find out what they've done, they tried to say, well, it was an accident. They didn't know the blankets were infected. Okay? But anyway, getting back to what I was talking about. So I had to damn near strip all of these leaves and some flowers, you know, because they have all of these speckled spots on them. These speckled spots are not uncommon every year, right? However, some years are worse than other years, right? And every year, you know, we get a new type of weed. Okay, every year we get a new type of weed. And this has been going on mainly for the last, I'd say about 16, 15 years. Because before that, you know, it just didn't seem like, you know, we had to worry about anything but dandelions, pretty much. But now we got all different kinds of crabgrass and, I mean, just all different kinds of weeds that I don't think are indigenous to this area. So the last video I watched in its entirety was, I was watching this, I guess he calls himself I Alliance, something like that. And so he calls himself like an informative channel, right? So he's speaking about the economy. He's saying that, okay, it's been predicted that the car industry was going to suffer this year. They've already suffered a 28,000 vehicles that have not been bought per day, right? And I guess, you know, throughout America, it was typical for, you know, Americans to buy automobiles. Okay? But I'm going to tell you, I mean, I was shocked and appalled when, you know, I went to go register my vehicle and my registration was $200 more than a gas-driven vehicle. I'm like, what the heck? Why? You know? And, you know, I did try to console myself with that notion that, okay, you know, this is a new, you know, this is a new era where people are, you know, still having to develop and get used to the electrical vehicles. And then you have those, you know, who are going to reject their electrical vehicles. right? And, you know, it's one thing to boycott something, right? And I'll say this again. It's one thing to boycott a thing where you're showing, where, you know, you're letting your dollars, you know, speak for, you know, your approval and your disapproval. But it's another thing to go around here and start destroying property and telling other people that they can't because you won't, because you don't. Okay? All right. Now, we're doing this sort of behavior and acting like it's okay because it's just material things. Well, believe me, it's creeping into non-material things also, right? It's creeping into non-material things also, where, you know, somebody can come online and tell people, oh, you know, be careful, be weary of those quiet people in the workplace, right? Telling them this, right? And it's like, you know, you can't even be quietly compliant nowadays without them making it seem like, oh, if you're not, you know, rah-rahing for them and fighting for them, then, you know, you don't deserve anything. And it's just like, oh, wow. You know, sounds like we're headed towards a spiritual battle for sure in my book. What else could it be? So anyway, here's the thing about spirituality. When you're in a country where you have the right to be an atheist, you have the right to whatever religion that you want to worship. Okay? And these people haven't found out that, you know, if they start forcing people to spiritually be on board, which is what? Spiritual imprisonment? Spiritual warfare? Spiritual bribery? Spiritual hostages? Okay. When that happens, eventually your freedoms are going to be taken away. So, I don't know what it is that they're thinking is going to happen. Now, what they're thinking is going to happen is they're going to allow complete anarchy. I doubt that's going to happen, although it could, right? However, it's probably going to happen more in non-metroplex type of settings. Like, it's going to happen more out in the desert. It's going to happen more in, you know, smaller towns and cities. You know, basically places that, you know, can't protect themselves. Basically. Okay? So, which, you know, in my mind tells me that, oh my gosh, you know, all of these, you know, people that got displaced and were forced to live in their vans or their cars or in, you know, these mobile parks and stuff like that, they're going to suffer being around all of these lawless criminals, right? some good people out there, you know, that were victims of circumstances, that, you know, were victims of the economy, right? But then there are also people out there that choose this lawlessness. Okay? They choose it. And they figure, you know, they're not going to lose because they think of themselves as being strong. They don't start to think of themselves as not being strong until they get up there in age, which is like over 50 or 60 years old. Once you get over 50 or 60 years old, the way that your hormones drop, okay? The way that your hormones drop, you know, you sit your ass down. And if you don't sit your ass down, you know, you probably end up being one of those people who had a stroke or a heart attack, you know, trying to keep up that same pace that, you know, your organs can't take. You know, and the one congratulatory statement I would tell them is, well, at least you didn't have to get old. You know, congratulations. Because the attack on the old people is unbelievable. It's attacking them in the workplace. They've been attacking the old people in the workplace for the last 30 years. You know, they didn't like the fact that, oh, you know, this person had been working for the company for 20, 30 years, you know, and they're just trying to, you know, keep working until, you know, they can't work no more, and they get sit down and have to go home. You know, they didn't like the idea that even the employer would set them up on a job just so they can continue to be functional every day and come to work. Because this person provided good energy for the business. Because this person showed up every day and had, you know, and had brought with them the type of character that employees want to see in the office. What is that? That's where an employee has integrity, has a type of professionalism, enough to leave their ego outside before they come into the building. Okay? So, we have people today who don't want to leave their ego outside. They want to come in and bring their chaos and their trauma and their dysfunction into the workplace. They don't care about the laws that was created for sexual harassment. They don't care, you know, that there's laws out there that say that no, you cannot be under the influence while working. They don't care about none of that. And they're like, well, you know, they've been doing this. Yeah, you know, but we didn't think that we had the police when we thought if we just told you it was against the law that you would just be accommodating and cooperating. And they're like, nah, you got to enforce it. If you ain't enforcing it, don't get mad at them because they doing it and getting away with it. Which kind of brings me to that movie. What was the name of that movie? With Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone. And they had to bring Sylvester Stallone out of retirement because Wesley Snipes was a criminal that got out of, what was it, of chronic freeze or something, cryo freeze imprisonment. And he came out here and he was like, oh my God, you know, this is insane. You know, you got these people who are cooperating, and he was like, oh, you know, he's not gonna cooperate, right? And then that takes me back to some of these videos where I will see these men that will walk around and say, no, they don't want peace, right? They love chaos and they love trouble and, you know, and destruction and bullying and you name it. Anything but peace. Peace to them is boring. Peace to them, peace and love is wimpy pussy stuff. Period. Right? And when I see those people, I instantly say, yeah, that's a situation where that woman, his mama should have swallowed instead of laying down and having that baby. And a lot of men, you know, have been brought into this world that are strictly karmic children. They wasn't brought into this world out of love. Their parents didn't love each other. It was a sexual episode that just, I don't know, just got out of hand. And what gets me is our government knows that this is what happens, right? And yet, because we're a pillage and rape culture, right? All Western world countries are a rape and pillage culture. And, you know, once the government tries to force them to even pay for their children, then, you know, these men will kill the whole family. So that's why I don't understand why they don't have free abortions for women. You know, and they've done everything they can to accommodate these SOBs, right? Oh, you're not happy? Well, we'll make sure that you get, you know, our sloppy seconds. You want that woman over there? I'll bring her down a few notches, and then she'll gladly be with you. Yeah, it was all strategic. All strategic. And I know you're thinking to yourself, what did I mean by they'll bring this female or woman down and allow this man to have that woman afterwards? They're going to deflower her, and they're going to make her feel like, you know, she's unworthy. And when she feels like she's unworthy, then he can come along and say, you know, well, she should have picked a man like him. Or she should be with a man like him instead. Right? So this is this game that men have been playing ever since, you know, they got over the notion that there was no such thing as a woman that could please them, right? They running around here like Solomon, right? Who had 800 wives and basically said the only true love he ever had was with another man. So I don't know. It just seems like to me they don't see love as an act of giving. They see love as an act of taking. And that's part of the reason why these men don't ever find love, because they don't know how to give love. They just expect somebody to set this table for them, and all they're supposed to do is just go and sit down and eat. That's what they expect. And even then, after that, they don't even see that there's, work to be done, even if they do sit at a table, right? They don't see that, somebody need to cook, somebody needs to, pay for the groceries, somebody needs to somebody needs to clean up afterwards, And why do I say that? Because even when these men get the women that they want, they don't know what to do with the woman after they get her. They're like, well, what are you going to do afterwards? Well, I guess I'll just keep working. And hope everything goes okay. Hold on. Okay, so we're over here by the boats here at White Rock Lake. Like I said, they have different parts of the lake that has different types of, flavors to it, which is one of the reasons why I like this area so much. It's Saturday, and there's a lot of people down here. It's very warm, but down here by the water, there's lots of wind. Hold on. Okay, normally about this time in my younger years, I would be on my hustle and I would be trying to upgrade, level up before my solar return. Okay, this year has been so different for me because instead I haven't been doing anything all week, right? And even the times that I tried to get out and do some dashing or something like that, you know, it became problematic or, you know, difficult. Then I ended up on the other side of town. I was forced to, you know, buy, you know, in fast charge from a station, lest I get stranded somewhere. I mean, it was, like I said, I tried to do DoorDash, because DoorDash you only pick up in you only work a certain area. But the last few times that I have been doing that is they'll tell me, oh, go a mile over here, because it's hot in this area. Then you drive to that area, and then they'll say, oh, well, drive over to this other area. It's hot over there. And before you know it, you could be completely out of your area. And it will tell you, oh, you're out of your area. You know, you're scheduled to work in this area. You know, and then you have to go back to the area where, you know, you had signed up for. And I was like, no, I ain't doing all of that. You know, trying to run after a delivery. So, and because, you know, my patients have been, you know, because my patients have been tried, you know, I just had to take a break. Let's go up here on the trail. Come on. The last 2 days, I've been eating a lot of carbs. So I've had to also supplement with a lot of fiber supplements. You know, with the hopes that, you know, those carbs won't hurt my my weight loss plan. Come here. Lift your leg up. So, And so I guess maybe we're all anxious to see what the new system is going to bring, since so many people is, aborting the old system. But what I don't know is how these people are able to live like this. Because I know it's hard for me to live like this. And if it's hard for me, I know it's got to be hard for other people. Because, I can live a soft life and I can live a hard life. So here's one of the things that this guy also was talking about on this financial channel. He said, don't shop for the whole week. He says, just shop for a day or two, because a lot of the groceries and stuff are not fresh, and you'll end up throwing away food that you bought thinking that you could keep them for the whole week. And I was like, yeah, that's so true. But who has the time and the energy to go to the store every day or every other day? Who has that kind of energy? Right?
basically seeing across that busy street that we were driving on, Buckner. They across the street.
Come around this way. Come around this way. Hold on. What is this? What is this? No sugar added. Oh, zero sugar. Yo. Brahms.